Hey guys, it's Morgan. Welcome back to another weekly Shlog here at Highland Cycles in Montrose, Colorado. This is our little shop vlog where we show you all kinds of cool dirt bike stuff, tool reviews, product. Anyway, this is a rad place to be. You guys need to stick around. You need to subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Here we go. All right, guys, so first on the lift is this YZ450. We'll go over that here in a second, but we are super stoked to announce that Michael got his 250 back together, finally.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, it took a long time. I'm blaming Michael for everything. Everything that goes wrong in life, you should blame him.
Yep.
But
Failure.
he's actually a great kid, but we like to give him a hard time. He blew this bike up. Actually, he didn't blow the bike up. A quote-unquote friend, we'll call him Old Jimmy, blew this motorcycle up. Michael got it fixed. Richie helped him get the motor back together. A huge thank you to Rich. A huge thank you to Michael for being just rad. And we'll also blame Zach, since he's not here. He's actually still in town for a little bit. He's heading back to training for National Guard. Someone asked if Zach still worked here. Yeah, well, technically no, he's not working here because he's not here. But yes, he is still employed by Highland Cycles. He's just finishing up his advanced training for the National Guard, and then he'll be back. Who knows what Michael's actually doing right now? It could be anything. He's probably ruining something, but he's going to be back on his motorcycle very soon. All right, so we got this YZ450. Let me read you the work order. An oil leak from somewhere. I think I figured that out. Looks like it's probably countershaft seal, super wet all back in there. So it's wet down onto the shift shaft, so I'll probably get a shift shaft seal too, because why not? You're right there, you're gonna have everything off. And then it's hard to start when hot. And then replace some throttle cables. He's got throttle cables to replace. So usually motorcycles, 4-strokes, that are hard to start when hot are because of a valve adjustment situation. Because what happens in a valve... Yeah, let me draw you a picture. If you've been watching long, you've seen my drawing, and it's really, really terrible. But I'm going to try to do a decent job here. So, and it doesn't really matter. So here we go. We've got the bucket on a valve. Underneath here, we've got a valve shim. And we got a valve stem coming down, and eventually we have a valve face down here. This bucket comes like whatever. Then up here we have a cam lobe that is shaped a little bit like this. Boy, that's bad, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. So right here is the clearance. And if there is no clearance there, or very, very little, like 1,000th or something like that, the bike will start when you kick it or hit the button or whatever version it has. But eventually this, when heat hits this, everything grows. The metal grows, the valve, the bucket, everything grows with heat as it expands, and it will take that clearance away, and it'll actually open this valve up. So this is the head. It'll open this valve up just a little bit and lose compression and get really hard to start when hot. And then when it cools back down, the metal shrinks back down and it gets easy to start again. So that is usually why, if you've got a bike that's hard to start when it's hot, that's a lot of times what's going on with the 4-stroke. Now, if it just dies or it quits and you cannot start it when it's hot, a lot of times that is because of a stator problem, because you lose spark. With the valve adjustment, it usually gets hard to start, and you notice that long before you let it get so bad. Hopefully you let it get so bad that it just won't start. So I'm going to start this whole situation by taking the seat and tank off. We'll get down into the top of this thing and we'll show you how to check valves on a YZ450. All right, guys, there's Michael again. Are you done yet, Michael?
No, I'm still trying to figure this crap out.
He's still messing things up. So I've got this off this new style YZ. I know, sorry about the noise, but this new style YZ has, it's actually really easy to do a valve adjustment because of the way the frame is. Since the frame is this twin spar coming up and the tank comes right out of there really easily with the fuel injected bikes, it's really nice. So you can get right down in there. We've got, now this is different because this motor's backwards. That's the intake and that's the exhaust. So we've got this thing close enough to top dead center that the valves are on the base circle. I've got a 2/1000 feeler gauge, because if that doesn't go, that's a definite sign that they're too tight. We're going to come over here. We're going to go in there. Okay, that one's good. Well, it's not good. It's at least 2/1000. And that one's 2/1000. All right, so now let's go up, because spec is actually 4 to 6/1000. So we'll take 4. All right, 4 does not go. And 4 does not go. So now I'm going to go ahead and check 3 and see how close we are. All right, 3 goes with quite a bit of drag there and there. So to me, what that's saying is that our hard starting is because of the valves, but they're not terrible, so that's awesome. Now let's check the exhaust. It's generally intakes that get tight first, but we'll usually exhaust stay good, but we're going to go with the 7 because it's like a 6 to 10. 7 go. So happy with the exhaust. Next step is we're going to take this cam chain tensioner out to release tension on the cam chain, and we're going to pop that valve out and measure the shims that are in there. All right, guys. Actually, I forgot. On Yamaha's, their cam chain tensioner, you actually don't have to take it out. There's a cam chain tensioner. Take a nice, long, skinny flat blade. It's going to come in here. Turn it till you feel it go into the slot, and then we're going to turn this righty-tighty until it stops. And then we're going to just put a little tension on it, and there we go. Now that is going to loosen this up. There we go. And that will stay like that unless you, if you hit it with a hammer, it might not stay, but it'll stay until you put this back in there and loosen it. It'll go lefty-loosey. So it's actually really nice. You don't have to take that off. All right, now I'm going to take this cam cap off of here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a zip tie, and we're going to zip tie the cam chain to the gear so we can just move it out of the way and we won't lose time. We can just rock it back in there. That way we don't have to re-time everything. All right, guys. So we've got zip tie right there. This moved out of the way. Now we can reach in here with a magnet and pull those buckets out and get the shims out. With the right one first. Usually when you do that, the shim is going to be right there. Partially because of the magnet, partially because they just get stuck. But I just use, these are pretty nice Fowler caliper. It's not a mic though, so it's not as accurate as a micrometer. It's not too bad. It's 194, so it's probably 195. It's a little off. That's actually not too bad. And since it's only like 1/1000th out of being on the low side of spec, we're just going to go down one size to a 190. All right, got the other one here. Let's measure. So that's a 200. So we're going to go down to a 195 on that. All right, guys, so I'm going to put this all back together. I'm not going to show you in depth how to do that. It's obviously not a very big deal. With you've got the zip tie on there, you just set that back in there. One thing, guys, there's a clip that goes right here. Be really careful when you're taking this cam cap off or putting it on, you don't drop it. It's real easy, don't ask me how I know, to drop it right down in there. And then you either have to fish it out with a magnet or you get to take the ignition cover off. It just not awesome. So I'm going to put this all back together, guys, and then we're going to fire it up and see how it runs. Other thing, if you're doing this job, please, 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 please invest in a torque wrench, a good one. I like the digital ones. I mean, the clicky ones are fine, but this is a low torque bolt, 7 foot-pounds or about 10 Newton meters. So invest in one. Otherwise, you will ruin a head and it will cost you a ton of money. So just do it. Sweet, got it started up. I took a few kicks, but it's been sitting in the cold for a while, so I had to prime the fuel pump and everything. So I'm gonna let it run for a while and get nice and warm, and then we'll try it again. The other thing is I have to replace these throttle cables, so I gotta take all this back off, but I just want to make sure. So nothing's bolted down. Also, I forgot to show you, I did check the clearance again after I replaced those shims. They're right in the middle, right at 5,000, so feel good about that. Yeah, let this heat up. All right, guys, so got the YZ, the whole running issue all done, got the air filter oiled. I forgot to show you that. It was super dry, so that's not good. It might be why the intake valves are tight, because honestly, Yamaha valve trains don't usually tighten up that fast anymore. They're really, really good, but so he might have a bigger bill coming soon if these valves tighten up again really quickly. But got throttle cables on there. Now I'm just waiting on a countershaft seal and a shift shaft seal. That's not here yet. But I want to tell you a little story here. I wasn't going to make this video, but I can't help myself. I'm not going to discuss who did what, but we're in Montrose. You guys can figure that out. What are those? So let me show you. We have that, I believe is an 18, 19, what is that thing? 19. 2019 500 EXC. Very, very good friend of ours owns that bike. He is headed to Baja here next month, and then he's going on a big BDR route later in the year, and he just wanted this thing perfect. So he had to service the suspension, grease everything, new wheel bearing, just everything. Touched everything on this bike to make it perfect. So we did that. We were working on the forks, or Richie was working on the forks. I noticed that they're open chamber forks, like the old school open chambers. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. But that's kind of cool because these are actually really, really good forks, like really good. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wonder where he got those, because he didn't buy them from us, and I don't really care. That's fine. But that's something, a massive upgrade over the Explorer forks. So I was like, oh, right on. So as Richie was taking them apart, though, he commented, hey, Morgan, do these things normally have just one clicker on the bottom? The answer is no, they do not. They usually have 2 clickers on the bottom. They look like that. So I was like, what do you mean? So I came over. On one side was this, which is like the bottom of an Explorer fork. The other side was like this, which was a used and hammered bottom of an open chamber fork. Then when we flip them over, they have crudely manufactured pistons that aren't anything KTM, and are all got burrs all over them, like they're done with a drill and a quote-unquote lathe. I don't even know. These are not like, and if you're the company who makes these pistons, sorry, but these suck. I'm just going to tell you that. Like, I'm not afraid. These are terrible pistons, especially compared to the stock KTM pistons, which are actually really good. And they got bleed stuff drilled through them, so there's no way these things are going to hold up very well. So I called the gentleman who owns it, and I asked him, hey man, where'd you get these forks? Blah, 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 who worked on them? He told me. I'm like, well, they're wrong. They're really very wrong. And he's like, huh. So I fortunately had the parts to fix it. I had brand new base valves from a set of closed chamber, open chamber forks that I was given. It's a long story, but I had the parts. So we got them replaced. And then when we took the other side apart, we see that it's got this other janky piston on this side, the side that doesn't have the adjuster. So here's my thought. My guess is, see, as a suspension shop, we end up with a lot of parts because we take parts out of bikes. out of, you know, forks and shocks like that. We take them out, and I save them, right? Because used parts are good to have in case someone has a real weird problem and we don't have the part and we need to get them going again. I don't charge them new money for used parts, but if we have to use them, it's nice to have this stuff, right? So we save lots of parts, and most suspension shops do. My thought is this other shop had a bunch of stuff laying around, built a set of forks out of a whole bunch of junk, I would say. To me, that's junk. And then sold these whole forks, because the gentleman who owns that bike still has the original forks, and they're bone stock, and sold him a whole set of forks for probably a relatively large number, saying that they're all built and valved and happy and good and whatever, and they weren't. So, yeah. Guys, when you're getting suspension done, I don't care if it's with TBT, I don't care who it's with, make sure you get the stuff done correctly, please. I don't know. Beware of snakes in the grass. It really bums me out because the guy that owns this bike is an amazing man who served our country for a very, very long time and deserves the best of the best. And it's crap that he got taken advantage of. So I am really excited that we got to get the forks fixed, and now they're going to work better than they ever did. And they're just bone stock, like we didn't valve them, but they're going to work way, way better than that weird whatever setup. So anyway, when you're getting your suspension done, check in, do some research, talk to some other people, things like that. Just make sure you're getting it done well. And there's lots of really good suspension tuners out there, guys. I'm not saying TBT is the only one. I'm not that guy. I refuse to be that arrogant suspension shops like, oh, we're the only ones that do good work. Da, 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 da. That's not true. There's lots of them that do good work. You know, we're one of them, I think so. And for instance, actually, this gentleman had Precision Concepts do his, well, Richie's got him. Precision Concepts do his forks and shock, and he just won the Vet A National Hare and Hound Championship on this bike. So clearly they did a good job. And we're just servicing him for him because Precision Concepts is in California and we're here and he's here. So we're servicing him up and getting them all dialed in for him. Yeah, anyway, on to the next job. All right, guys, next on the lift is this 2019 TX300. The unicorn of motorcycles, the last of the carbureted counterbalanced motors. This is our good friend Jerry's bike, and he takes crazy good care of it, but it's had its first real problem. It's killing batteries. It killed one. It was the original, so we put a new one in it, and I thought we checked the charging. I thought it said it was good, but we're going to check it now. It's not charging the battery, at least it's not keeping it charged. So we're going to find out whether it's a charging situation or if it's a parasitic draw situation, although I doubt that because he literally has nothing extra on this motorcycle, which is awesome. So let's take the seat off, check the battery, we're going to check stator, we're going to do all that good stuff. All right, so we've got the tank and everything off, got down to the seat, or the seat off, got down to the battery, I charged the battery up. Now we're going to use our meter and just check voltage on the battery, how it sits. There you go, 13.28, that's good. Now we're gonna start by testing the stator by testing the output at the battery. So we're just gonna fire it up. Hopefully, I think there's enough gas in the carburetor to start. And we're gonna touch the battery while it's running, and we'll see if it goes up over 13.5. So yeah, that's the first way you test the stator, is just to see if it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is charging the battery. So I'll set you guys right here. We'll hold that. All right, guys, so that is not enough. You saw it go back up. It kind of climbed up to 13.18. And I'm wondering if that's maybe what happened the first time we sent this out because we put a battery in it, put this AG801, and it was like, oh, 13.8, 13.18, you know, whatever, seems good. That's not enough. It needs to go back up over the 13.5 or 13.3, 13.4. and it needs to get there quickly, and it needs to rise when you rev it. It's not doing that. So something's going on with the charging. Now let's dig into the next piece of the puzzle. All right, next piece of the puzzle is the regulator rectifier. Let's check this thing out. All right, in general, motorcycle regulator rectifiers are going to look something like this. They're going to have fins on them. They're going to have 4 or 5 wires coming out of them, and where this goes, the plug that goes into this is going to be coming directly out of the stator. Now, these bikes, these older KTMs, carbureted KTMs, they have multiple wires coming out of the motor. And here, let me just show you. So we got here, this is the pickup coil, the red green. That's obviously working because it's running. Then we have here, we have yellow white and red white and something else. So there's 4 wires coming out of here. The yellow white are the ones that are coming up here. So guys, if we look here, this is the plug that goes into that regulator rectifier. It's going to have wires that come out. There's going to be power wires in. Looks like a white and yellow red or yellow. I don't know. We'll figure out which ones are which. I'll show you how you figure that out here in a second. Then the brown one's a ground. And then maybe this white one is power to the battery, because these bikes have the Stator has 2 coils. It has a pickup with 3 coils really. So the pickup coil telling the crank position and telling the thing when to fire. Then it has a stator a stator coil that provides power for the battery. Then it has a stator coil that provides AC power for the spark and for the headlight. So these have different, and this doesn't have a headlight, I know, but it's got wires for a headlight right there because it's the old style carbureted. So the stator is split up doing different things. So the regulator rectifier is only for the battery, because the charging coil for the ignition and the charging coil for the light are AC power, so you don't need to regulate or rectify it. So what we do here to test a regulator rectifier is you're going to turn your meter to the diode function, and what that diode function is doing is it's going to actually push current through these from one wire to another. So now we need to figure out what's what. Generally, on these things, the red wire is going to be power to the battery. The black wire is going to be ground. Cousin Joe! And usually the other wires are for power coming in. So to test this, you're going to want to grab one of the wires that's going to the battery. So we'll take the power one, the red one. And one of the wires is coming into the regulator, and you're going to touch these red to black, black to red, doesn't matter, because we're going to switch. So we'll go red to white first, and we'll put the black lead on red and the red lead on white. We'll see what we get, if anything. And this, you should read offline one way and a little bit of voltage the other. So it's offline, touching it that way. So now we're going to switch them, and hopefully we're going to see 0.4 something, 0.5 something volts this way, because again, it's a diode setting. Ooh. Okay, so it's offline that way too. That's interesting, guys. That means this may be our problem. So now let's check the red wire to the yellow wire and go backwards on that. Okay, so there's some volts that way. Now I'm just going to check the red to the black just in case I have this mixed up, but I don't think so. All right, so right now I'm thinking this is junk. So now we're going to use the black wire, and we're going to go to black to white, black to yellow, switching these things back and forth. So we're switching this back and forth, guys. This thing is, in my opinion, definitely junk. I'm going to see if I can find one laying around the shop here that I can just rob off real fast and try it out. All right, guys, now we've got that plugged in. I'm going to just give this thing a shot. There we go. All right, guys, so like I showed you before, out of the Stator, here come the Stator wires. Again, this is pickup coil wires. Those are obviously good because the bike runs. These are coming up. These are going to be the power wires that go to the regulator rectifier, and they also go to the AC circuit. You can see they split right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to unplug those. Ooh, that came unplugged awfully easy. That is interesting. That blade, it's going to be hard for you guys to see, but it's kind of spread out. I honestly wonder if maybe that's all there is to it. We'll see. I'm still going to show you how to test the Stator because these wires are for the power for ignition. Those are obviously working also. We don't need to check those. So we need to check this. I'm going to check it with ohms first to get a resistance reading. Then we're going to check it as it spins. All right, we're going to start with ohm setting. And we're looking for pretty low ohms, low resistance on these charging wires. Let's see if I can. So 0.2, 0.3, that seems good. Now let's check it to ground, make sure we're not shorting out to ground. That's interesting, guys. It's kind of all over the place. Trying to make sure I keep it connected. There we go. It's just like mega ohms, no ohms, back to mega ohms. So it's a little concerning. Definitely make me lean towards the Stator. But before we take that cover off, since I felt like that thing came unhooked quite easily, I'm going to try pinching that blade back down, put it back on, and we'll try it one more time before we pull the cover off and take a look at that thing and see what it looks like, see if it's fried or if there's a wire cut or something. Back on volts DC. All right, guys, definitely pull the Stator off, cover off, and take a look. These Stators are funny. They're mounted into the cover and not onto the bike with the plate, so that's different. That's like a 4-stroke. So anyway, I'll get this thing up in the air, pull the cover off, and take a look inside. All right, guys, so we got the Stator cover off with the Stator in it. This is the Stator. Let me just show you something here. So these coils are all the coils to power the battery and the lights, okay? This coil is for the ignition. So all these guys are powering the lights. You can see the white wire here, yellow wire here, and it's all soldered on there. It looks all good. I'm a little concerned. It kind of seems a little bit brown. I mean, it'd be okay. It probably gets a little bit warm in here. It looks okay. Nothing's touching anything. There's nothing, no wires getting rubbed through. It almost looks like the Stator is, or the flywheel's touching that just a tiny bit, but definitely not getting through. It's not through the insulation. So that looks okay. Let me show you here. So this red and white comes around and goes to this, and this black and red comes to here. So like I said, that's ignition. This is battery and lights. So that is interesting. So still could be bad. Still could be shorting out to this base plate. This base plate, it could be shorting out somewhere in there. I don't see that happening, but it's a possibility. All right, guys, let me back up here 1 second. All right, guys, sorry about that. Let me back up. This is a little bit different than the older style, which I've had more luck with. So this wire right there is going to this coil, which then I believe goes on around and everything, and then eventually attaches to this. And so you've got power. Let's take a look, guys. I'm going to come over here. I'm sorry if this is a little confusing, but I just want to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. So see, We got yellow wires here, like the split yellow wire. One goes up and goes that way to the light. The other, which is here, a thicker wire, and maybe that's that smaller thing. I'm not, well, no, those are attached together, so that's not it. Anyway, so this goes back to the regulator rectifier. The white also goes back to the regulator rectifier. And then out of that comes this one, which is yellow-red, and it goes all over the place. And then we got, well, it should be power to the battery. So what we're going to do, we're also going to check some leads, some resistance to the battery. And then the brown looks like it's to the ground. So let me put the regulator rectifier back on here, grab our meter, and we're going to check resistance from ground on the battery to ground here, and then power on the battery to here, because that's how that's going to charge. So here we go, digging deeper, because that's another thing that can be happening. If the stator, and we're going to check the stator, it's volts AC too when it's spinning in just a second, to see, because the ohm readings seem good. The ground thing seems a little bit weird, but it looks like it does touch the base plate, so maybe it's supposed to ground. Some stators do ground, sometimes they don't. But we could also have a problem with just the wiring to the battery. So yeah, let me put that regulator rectifier back on. All right, now I'm gonna put this cover back on, and we're gonna spin the motor and show you a setting on this thing that'll record the volts AC and see what our volts AC coming out of the stator are. All right, guys, so what we're gonna do is go to volts AC right there, and we're gonna record, and that will record our high points. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's only 4 volts. For the stator to be good, you want to see like 20 at idle, 18 at idle. So that's not even close. It goes up. Car just ran out of gas. It goes up, which it's supposed to. So there we go, max now. All right, that is definitive now. So we've checked ohms. They look good. That's the thing. You can't only check ohms. They look good. I was getting some stuff to ground, and maybe that's part of why it's not doing what it's supposed to do, like checking the stator to ground, and it was kind of doing that weird thing. Like it feels like it should be like consistent if it's going to be grounded or not. So that might be part of the problem. Maybe it's supposed to ground to the stator, but it's not. And there's a broken wire in there doing that. And I don't know. Sorry that I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be, but this is how you test these things when you don't know each and every bike, right? So you kind of go around and around and around, and you check and you just keep checking. And I have a base of knowledge in my head from what I know things are supposed to be. And I know readings aren't supposed to jump around. They should settle out unless you're checking AC volts while something's running. So that all checked out-ish, kind of. On the ground thing was a little bit weird. It looks good to the eye, but then when we actually check AC output, it is way too low. So there you go. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, we'll get a stator for this guy and we'll be on the road. All right, guys, that's the end of the week, the end of the Shlog. Thank you so much for joining me for this one. A little bit longer here. I really appreciate you guys being here. If you're new here to the channel and you just watched all the way to the end of this really long video and you had fun, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give us a thumbs up, tell your friends about it, share this channel around. We are trying to grow this thing into a giant machine that can do all kinds of cool testing and cool stuff. I got ideas for big projects, but I need a much bigger channel to help pay for that because I do not make enough money to do the things I want to do quite yet. So, and really, subscription to the thing is free. If you really, really like our content and you're getting a lot of value out of it, check out our Patreon. Maybe consider being a member here on YouTube. You should be able to see a little members button somewhere on your thing. You can join and be a member. It's just a way to give us a little bit of money every month to help this channel keep rolling and get bigger and do cooler stuff. Not begging for money, but that would absolutely help. Now, I don't have any real benefits for members of the channel yet, but I will be working on that very soon. Probably some private videos, chat times, some ride days, things like that coming in the future. So anyway, consider it. I love you guys so, so, so much. I hope you get out and spread the gospel of two wheels, and I desperately hope that what we're doing here at Highland Cycles is inspiring you guys to work on, but way more importantly, get out and ride your dirt bikes!